Trade Ideas is a publisher. You understand that no content published as part of the Trade Ideas trading services constitutes a recommendation that any particular investment, security, portfolio of securities, transaction, or investment strategy is suitable for any specific person. In other words, we're not telling you what to invest in. If for that you need to get an RIA, we are a technology and a software as a service company with some very advanced stuff. I'm going to turn you over to Dan Merkin and let him introduce himself. Dan is our founder and CEO. Hey, Dan.
Scott, thank you very much for the heads up, and I want to just, before we get fully started, I want to thank everybody for taking their time late in the evening and giving us a chance to present. I'm hoping to give you a presentation that should be one of the more profound things that you will hear this year about the stock market. So I'm going to go to the first slide real quick and really think about what this slide says. Everything that you know about the stock market is most likely wrong. So you're here for a reason. And again, we're going to dive into what it is that's making Trade Ideas so special. But before we get going, just a little bit of background and yours truly. So why are you guys listening to this handsome devil? Here I am on my way to my first million in 1996. So I've been a self-directed investor for a very, very long time. And the beauty is that I've had the pleasure and the privilege of working with some of the best people in the industry. In fact, people who are on our support team, Steve and Andy, they've been working with me since 1998. So you have an incredible group here of people who know the most about investing and have done it the most themselves. And now we've changed the game completely, because since 2003, our company, Trade Ideas, has been revolutionizing how to identify opportunities in the stock market. And that's what we're going to show you today. Our technology is game-changing, and we are already being used to some extent by some of the biggest names in the business, whether it's eSignal, Scottrade, or E-Trade, and StockTwits. People are utilizing some aspects of our technology, but not what I'm going to be showing you today, because this is the creme de la creme and the reason that you're at this presentation. But again, we've been at it for a long time, and we always like to talk about the fact that we're one of the few companies that has 13 years worth of testimonials on our website. So if you really want to, kind of dive in and look at the About Us, this is the real deal. So the other thing that is very important in terms of why you are here is that it just so happens that our business, Trade Ideas, is the fastest growing subscription-based financial technology business in the US right now. And this incredible growth has started kind of recently in the beginning of 2016. That's when our artificial intelligence came to life. We call this artificial intelligence Holy Grail, and it's a play on the Holy Grail, which is what everybody wants. Now, while the Holy Grail does not exist, Holy Grail comes pretty darn close. You can't provide just technology, because without having a medium and a place where people can see how this technology is utilized, you kind of you leave it up to people to flounder around the system. But with us, we have a vibrant community that's using this technology and sharing information every day during market hours. And it's led by our moderator, Barry Anderson, who is a fantastic leader of this community and really takes his time introducing people to the technology, but not in a teaching, selling sort of way. This room is really used for one specific thing, and that is a visualization of how people use Trade Ideas to make money. There are people in this room who have been with us for 10 years, 2 months, and they're all interacting, and it's completely free. So because we do so well with our subscription service that I showed you earlier, many things that we provide are totally free. And so this community, again, you can really have the zero kind of cost introduction to our tech, as well as kind of get an idea of what it's really all about and how others think about what's going on. So just want to make sure everyone understands it's not really that it's just the technology. There's a whole synergistic organism, a system that's in place, a methodology to use this technology to also capture alpha in the stock market. So remember I said that everything that you most likely know about the stock market is wrong. Well, let me tell you what I mean by that. The stock market is littered with indicators. If you go to Yahoo Finance or Google Finance, or even if you're maybe familiar with some of the tools like Thinkorswim or eSignal or any of the components of Trader Workstation or TradeStation, I mean, I can name all of them. And they're all littered and littered and littered and littered with tools. But the problem is that none of them work. And the reason that they don't work is because tools were made at a time when people really did not have access to the computational forces of going through large amounts of data. That's why I asked the question. So how can you analyze 1 million unique trades to find the handful of trades that you should look at today without staying up all year? That's the question that we asked ourselves, because we thought to ourselves, after doing a lot of testing, I mean, all we did since 2003, we were looking, what works? Test this, test this, test this. What works? And after testing the RSI and the MACD and the EMAs and the SMAs and concepts used by newsletters and Elliott wave and all the things that you can imagine, after testing all of it, we realized that it does not work. And it simply doesn't work because of one reason. It's not verifiable. In other words, you can't make a system that uses the RSI and have that system produce any results, no matter how much you mess with it. And we tried messing with it a lot. So we decided to approach the whole idea of investing much like the MIT card counting team approached beating the house in Vegas. What we did is we used our server technology, and what Trade Ideas is it's an analysis hub. We connect directly to the exchanges. We listen to all the tick data like those HFT firms, except we're not in the business of trying to steal sub-pennies from data arbitrage. We're listening to the same data, but our business model is we translate that data into meaningful information that people can then use. We test every little thing to see, is this noise or is this a pattern? And Holly, as who you see here, is the way that we do it. It's our artificial intelligence engine. It is your virtual analyst. No more moving averages, no more configuring this and that and pitchforks and Fibonacci's. She does everything that you could ever imagine you would need when you are investing. How? What do we do? What is it that we do? So I've been thinking about this presentation for quite a bit, because this is a question that we get asked often. And one of the ways that we describe it is, well, we have this server farm and there's like 50 different algorithms, and these algorithms are constantly self-adjusting through machine learning, and then all of a sudden, like, I start hearing myself snore. It's a little boring and maybe too intense in terms of data, so I decided to kind of bring it back to reality. And I said, well, what is it that we do that's different? Well, we simply automate the scientific method. And you can Google the scientific method, and it is systematic observation, measurement, and experiment, and then the formulation, testing, and modification of hypotheses. This is it, people. These 3 lines is what our artificial intelligence does. So we take in all the real-time data, we process that real-time data, and we say to ourselves, does this real-time data look like it's noise, or is it a signal of some kind? So what I'm showing you right now is a picture of Holly, our artificial intelligence engine, today. So let me go back a second. Remember I said the scientific method. Automation, measurement, experiment, and the formulation, testing, and modification of the hypothesis. That's our AI. In the morning, you come in, and it is already ready with what it thinks are the best way to approach the morning based on everything that's been happening up until the open. These are, we put names, kind of catchy names for our algorithm so that people can kind of have something to relate to, like strong stock pulling back, you can imagine is literally a strong stock that's pulling back. First to the party, you can imagine, is a move that just suddenly happens and it's like the first big move. Pushing through resistance, on support, 5-day bounce. Again, all these things, these are the way that our AI thinks. It's just like you don't need to worry if Google or Apple Maps or Waze knows, how to navigate you. You kind of understand that it's using a lot of technology. It knows where the maps are, and it tells you where to go based on what it thinks is the best way to do it. This is the same thing, except with our AI, the destination happens to be profit. So today, and this is all real, and again, this is why I'm so excited to kind of show it to you. I don't expect you guys to know everything here, but you don't need, remember, these are just symbols, and I'll kind of go through what you're seeing. So today, the AI finished the day up about 4 points. That means if you calculate all of these profits, like this 92 cents that it got in RMP, or this 86 cents that it got in JCI or CPG, and by the way, it goes both long and short. If you calculate and add it all up together, this together comes out to $3.95. That's if you would have traded everything perfectly. And at the time this picture was taken, which was about 11:27 a.m. or an hour and a half before the close. So my mistake, this is an hour and a half before the close, but I believe it finished right around there. So these are two positions that are open. So it had a 5-cent winner in one and a 5-cent loser in another. So and you can see when it was in them. So it's been in this one for a little bit and kind of just got into that one. By the way, I'm on West Coast time, so that's why you see all the times the way you see them. If you're on the East Coast, just make sure you understand. So all of these trades, these suggestions, they come out in real time. So like you see them as they happen, and the last one is always on top. So the way that people use this technology is they see it, they pull up a stock, and they say, oh, maybe again, what I'm like, you can tell I'm enthusiastic because I see ourselves in the same position that Uber was in 2009. I can guarantee you that none of you guys ever used Uber in 2009. I know I didn't. I didn't even hear about it. But it was already making waves. And our technology, our AI, it was born January 1, 2016, after having been incubating since 2003. So think of the competitive advantage that we're bringing to the table in terms of our analysis. So while I am jibber-jabbering away, what our server farm is doing right now, it is going through this analysis. It is processing up to 1 million different trades. And these trades are what's preparing it for tomorrow that hopefully will give us the same kind of statistics. Seeing it in action and having our trading room with Barry kind of walking people through it, it's the ultimate experience. Here's another example of the technology from the 8th. And by the way, again, we are destroying the S&P. I mean, literally destroying the S&P. Look at the percentages that we are catching for our subscribers. 4% here. I mean, and sometimes, again, a system will be in one stock twice. That's like more emphasis. In the same one, 1.5%, 2.2. And of course, not everything is a winner. It never is. But look at the gains and look at what the P&L looks like. This is the game-changing element here. This is what has not been around before. Here's another day. Again, just so that you can see it, here the market is going down. This is one of the big down days for, again, I think this was the pre-debate downside. And we were able to not only, again, start profitable, and although there was some negativity, look at this majority of the day, our signals spent on the upside. And again, and they're trading different things, not just penny stocks, but you see Intels, you see everything that just has statistical advantage. That's the key. We don't discriminate. We hunt for the ultimate statistical advantage. And you see it just in the way that you need to see it. The symbol, the entry price, last trade. What happened? What's going on? It's easy to see. The whole notion that we wanted to solve. So we were like, again, being pioneers in the business, we were like, what is it that we need to solve? And there are really kind of two things. One, the most important problem that investors face is, what should you invest in? And that's what we did with the artificial intelligence. But to get them to that point, we also realized that we needed to change our interface. We needed to do more of a Netflix versus configure, file, open, save, like you're, you know, some kind of computer scientist or a programmer. Everything that you need is embedded. Again, this is an example of what kind of technology-centric things that the software is looking for. It hunts for, you know, specific 1 penetration, 2 penetration, 3 penetration, and then looks for the 4th. And again, I'm just giving you one example. But then it knows how to automatically adjust those things all by itself. It's just like Google Maps. When somebody builds a new road, the satellite comes in, you get it updated, and you don't have to do anything. From yesterday, no, this is today, I'm sorry. Here's another example, CPG. So this one, it's just, what else do you need to succeed? That's what you have to ask yourself. If you have this thing that has the kind of percentages that we are showing you, and we verify it because it's all in real time, and we have a free trading room that's highlighting and showing it to you, what else could you possibly want? That's the question you have to ask yourself. So what I'm going to show you now is I'm going to kind of take a break from the presentation. I'm going to minimize it, and I'm going to show you, I want to make sure, and Steve also, can everybody see my screen?
Yeah, we see your screen, Dan.
Okay, perfect.
We're good.
So great, fantastic. So remember we were talking about the scientific method and the testing and everything else. So here's our software, so you can see it. Just want to make sure you see it live. And I kind of have two charts, our channel bar, this is our Netflix, and a window. This is a window called First to the Party. And here's the kind of stuff that it produced today. So at 6:30 in the morning, it saw Kara at 8.8 because this is what it looked like on the daily. Then it saw CCL at 342. Then it saw AGTC. So this is the thing that this looks for. Okay, it's called First to the Party. It's a hypothesis. Remember when I brought this up, I'm going to go systematic observation, measurement, and experiment. I'm going to show you how we experiment so you can actually see it in real time. So this is the way that this alert window looked today. So the question we have to ask ourselves, and look, by the way, the very last one was EFOI, And you guys should be watching this for tomorrow if it's the last thing you do, because this is going to be pretty interesting stuff. So how do we ask a question? Well, let me show you. We say backtest strategy. This is our interface to our AI. And our AI is available manually as well. It's called the odds maker on a strategy basis. So here I say I'm going to hypothesize that I'm going to buy every one of these alerts, because this is, again, how you test it, 15 minutes after the open to avoid the volatility. And I'm going to stay in, let's say I'm going to stay in all day, because, again, I'm not glued to the computer. So let's say 12:55, which is 5 minutes before the close. Simulate buy. So this is a test. I've just gone through, I believe, a month's worth of data looking back, analyzed 97 trades, and saw that I have 46% winner and 28 cents on the average gain, 20 cents on the average loss. We have calendar heat maps, so you can kind of see, what things came through, how they looked, why, what did you win on, what did you lose on. So you can analyze everything. But the beauty, and this is what, where I talk about the experimentation, and what I'm doing here is I can say run again. And I can go to the exit time, and without any programming, I can just say, okay, well, how about 30 minutes? Well, how about this? Let's go for an hour. 60 minutes. Maybe an hour is better than all day. Let's take a look. Well, that changes things a little bit, doesn't it? Now we have a 2 profit factor. That means the average winner is 2 times the average loser. This is where this is happening, and a 55.7 success rate. So our computers just told us that instead of staying in these stocks all day, maybe I should think of my time frame a little bit shorter, because sometimes these moves really kind of diminish. So that's very useful information. And this is exactly what our artificial intelligence is doing right now, except whereas I'm going one at a time, and by the way, I'm doing it fast for human time, our AI is doing this 1,000-fold. Okay? So now I can test 45 minutes. Maybe 45 minutes is better than 60. Let's take a look. Just a little bit better. So notice again, and time is money. So do you see how I've been able to learn in a very short amount of time by just being able to test my exit hypotheses? By the way, it's not just for day trading. You can say at the market open, day after tomorrow. Let's take a look. How do these work as swing trades? Not too bad. Projected annual return. So this kind of testing, what I'm just showing you, and again, I don't need to explain it to you, but this is this. This is the system that what I did, clicking and fumbling and click, 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 click. Our computer is doing like server-style war games action on that right now in the server room. And it is coming up with what is the next thing that it should be doing. So let's go back to that slide that we were on before, where we said, hey, we don't want to make our people be software tinkerers. We want to use it like Netflix. So now imagine this. I'm going to click on the social media channel. Everything opens up, and everything here is related to how much something is being discussed on social media. So this brings us kind of back to the 2 ways that people invest, and there are only 2 ways. One is systematically. Systematically is when you're following a system of some kind, like the Trade Ideas Artificial Intelligence. The other way that people invest is called discretionarily. That's when something catches your attention, and through your discretion you decide, using your human intuition, which, by the way, is very powerful and needs to be honed. Do not discount the human element here. That's called discretionary trading, and Trade Ideas lets you be the best at that. Why? Well, it helps you see things that other people simply aren't seeing. Like, for example, that SMIT, Schmidt Industries, which had an insane kind of move today. You know, it went from 175 to 3 and all the way back down. But part of it is because it was being discussed 15,000 times more than normal. So while I don't know the news, I don't need to worry about it. I can then start looking at the longer term chart and saying to myself, well, this has happened before. I can zoom out and I can see, okay, well, that could be interesting. Something's happening. So when something's happening and you don't know what it is, here's what our software allows you to do. I make a note. I notate it and I add an alert. Looks very interesting. This is our simple rinse and repeat. This is how we approach the discretionary aspect of it. It's very dangerous to constantly try to make discretionary trades on the fly only. Let me explain an analogy to golf. Imagine if you're playing golf and you never can set up. Like you take your club, there's your ball, you walk right up to it and hit it. That's how most people actually invest. That's again why we said that, you know, everything you know about the stock market is wrong. Because having no idea what's setting up or only going by pure gut instinct, well, it misses the whole point of having a peace of mind and being able to do things when the market's off. So notice, I created an alert here for Smith and I won't miss it now. So I can go to Solar City. It was trading interestingly today. I mean, obviously it had that whole thing with Tesla and then all the way back down. For investors like ourselves, ladies and gentlemen, this is opportunity. Okay? You should forget the notions of just holding forever because today news is processed differently. There's more volatility and that inherent volatility is good and bad. It's good if you are a fluid investor and allow yourself to enter and exit and kind of be more engaged and active, and it's bad if you are of the mindset, oh, I'm just a buy and hold it. Because this is the kind of waves you have to ride. Why do you want to? And it's not like they're happening, you know, one day, then the next. I mean, these are kind of progressive monthly patterns. And what we do is we're just helping you dissect them, discern what's going on. So here again, if you look at this behavioral analysis, what you're going to see is that Solar City and is behaving the way I would just simply say, and I like to keep things very simple, behaves well. So it's behaving very well. That's going to give me a clue that if it crosses this level, it's completely digested that whole Tesla merger that people didn't like, and now things are turning around. Okay. There's so many high-flying stocks right now. It's one of the best times to be an individual investor. Look at these things. Bonanza Creek Energy is one of them. I mean, it's had incredible runs. You know, and sometimes you just have to zoom out to see what's really going on. So look at all this volatility. It went from 1 to 4 to half a dollar. I mean, you're talking about increments of 200% and trading at 3.8 million shares. I mean, there's enough for you to be working this when it's setting up. And right now, it's starting to set up. So I'm putting an alert. Looks very interesting. Starting to set up. Notice again that all the information that you're seeing here, there's no coding, there's no tinkering. I'm simply looking at symbols and just using my own, you know, kind of combination of intuition as well as analysis. That's what discretion is. So here's BlackBerry. Again, it's obviously it's had a terrible time, but I just want to say something is going on. And I save it. So this process of rinsing and repeating, of being able to go to these channels like the volume channel, or if you just like things that are moving up, you can go into the bullish channel and you will always, always be presented with things that are trading positive.
Hey, Dan, a lot of people like to trade options.
Absolutely.
You know, show them the simple options setup that we can just lay right out.
Yeah, so here we have the options channel, and we dissect options data kind of differently, whereas we don't focus on the specific option chain. What we do is we listen to the options volume, and we are trying to alert our subscribers when something unusual is happening, like, for example, BAK. Okay? So this stock had a put-call ratio of 41. I mean, that means that everything that was purchased was basically puts. And although it has had a very large option volume, well, no, let's see, where's the options volume percentage? Here it is, gigantic option volume percentage increase. This is the kind of thing that maybe somebody knows something. You know, that's the thing that you would have to suspect. Or, Steve, possibly somebody is short and this is their way to sell puts to maybe offset that. Again, I don't know the answer exactly. But what I'm saying is that you can definitely see the unusual behavior. Like, why is this stock with 4,100 contracts today, and again, mostly on the put side, why is it trading 14,000% of its normal options volume? These are all the things that people can just simply go through, take a look at, and make informed decisions on whether they do or don't want to trade them discretionary. So what I want to do now is I want to give you guys a list of stocks that I kind of specially created for this webinar. This is a list that I call Alpha Predator. And again, I want to make it simple. But what we do here with Alpha Predator, this is what we call our AI scaffolding. Now, alpha is a term that's used in the stock market. Alpha is a way that you outperform the indexes. So what I want to do is here, I want to show you, and I want to do two things. Number one, I want to be showing you stocks. I might make some notations on them, but so that you can get real value out of this. And because, again, we're already more than halfway done with the presentation. What I want to do is, if you're not, obviously most of you have never heard of trade ideas, but take a look at these symbols and watch what's going to happen to them in the next few days. Okay? So let's start with this one, mRNS. So this is one I already have an alert for, but mRNS is a pharmaceutical company, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to new, whoops, I'm going to go to new, and I'm going to open a single stock window so that everyone can see that we not only show you all the information that you need, you know, visually in terms of the stock action, but you can kind of dive into the data a little bit more. You know, how much of the float is it traded, the market cap, how much cash does it have on hand, cash to debt, yeah, earnings date, all sorts of things. Because we believe, in terms of data, we have nothing against fundamental data, and we use it inside of our AI. So EPS and short growth and quarterly revenue growth, those are all data points that the AI uses to kind of isolate the list. So without giving away all the secret sauce, let's look at the names. So mRNS is one of them, and you can see kind of why. It gapped down, but it's processing that information, and it's looking like it wants to head back up. BCEI, you're going to see some very similar things, but this is the whole deal with pattern recognition. Same thing. It goes all the way to 4, processed the info, kind of digesting, and now it looks like it's starting to pick back up. And remember, there was some positive oil news in the market today. ANFI, very similar concept here, right? I'm going to go right here and say...
I really like that one. Yes. That one's doing a nice gap up with a nice sideways action and then heading to highs. That's a really good looking, good looking.
Well, this, and Steve, you know, it's so, again, it's so hard for first-time people that have just seen this technology in action, appreciate what's going on. But guys, I can't miss these now. That's what I'm trying to say. The only thing that will prevent me from catching these when it's time is buying power, and that's a problem you want to have. FCell, again, notice you have these moves down, and now here, I'm going to put my alert on FCell above all of these levels. In fact, I'll go above right here. This lets me know that it's cleared, and I'm going to say it has cleared. And by the way, Steve or Andy or any Trade Idea subscribers, if you want to cheat off of me, please feel free.
I just can't tell. I'm typing away. I like the long consolidation pattern there. That it's very tight.
Well, Alpha Predator is kind of designed that way. Not all of them, but what you find out though is when you zoom out, even these, the digestion cycle is different, but the patterns are kind of similar. So look, once we clear here,
it's back in accumulation mode.
And I'll change it to 4 over the whole number and say it is back in time. So remember what I said. If you don't know, if you're not using trade ideas, it's okay. Just write down the symbols. Cowan. This is what you're here for. You want to see things you're not going to hear about anywhere else. Look at this one. A PER, Sandridge Permian Trust. I don't know what the hell that is, but right here, it looks like it wants to be bought. There's an important part, Steve, that I think people underestimate about doing this when the market's closed. There's a peace of mind because you're not focused on your P&L. Nothing is.
The way I like to put it is, this is my current mellow state, leaving notes to my future on guard, more manic state to remind myself why I liked it in this calm homework state.
That's right, and you kind of tend to trust yourself more then because you're not antsy when you're looking at this information once it has alerted you. So here's another one, NLNK, and my gosh, look at how nice this one has been. And by the way, people in Trade Ideas have been aware of this one for a long, long time. But sometimes to see the forest, you got to really zoom out. So this is one that we've been all over for a long time. But take a look here. Okay.
Pull back.
So this once it cleared this level, it really took off. And this is the kind of price action that pays off, what artificial intelligence has taught us. And this is what we look for. Notice again, this window, I'm not configuring anything. It's like going here, Dan. And this is already going. I don't want to say I missed it, but I feel like we missed it, Steve. So, even though it probably looks like it'll continue to go. So I'm going to say, let me change this to 15.
Well, what those we do a lot on those types, Dan, is we use maybe a possible pullback. They don't always have to be a breakout when we set these alerts. They can actually be a level of interest of a pullback. So if you feel like the train left the station, you didn't want to chase it, well, you could look for a level where they might try and pull back and jerk the chains and run the stops with people, and that new point of pullback can become your opportunity on somebody else's pain if it happens.
I love what you're saying, and that's really, it's almost like kind of the more advanced stuff.
Like that. Using that prior breakout, you're making a future pullback level. Great, you missed it, but you're not going to chase it. But you might get a second chance, and the only way to know about it is to plug it in here as a pullback alert, and then observe the price action if it triggers, and see if you want to take the discretionary trade at that level. See if some buyers start showing up. But yeah,
and that's what I just did here. And what's happening now is you see it bracketed, and notice I have it at the previous level. So I kind of took the gap, and I said, well, if it keeps going, it might keep going. And by the way, I have nothing against that. But if it comes back, this is where I want to play it. So this is a visual technique for your discretionary trading that you do off hours, and these things just get presented to you all day long. Again,
well, that begs the question, man, what does it look like when they do get presented to you?
Okay, so here's what it looks like. So let me show you. We have the cloud, and in the cloud there's different types of windows, but our price alert windows are just the various windows that we have. And again, I have various ones, but the ones that I'm doing today, the ones that are working, I can just load it. And you can kind of see here are as the date's happening, here are the ones that I am making. ITCI, CIK, and so on. So let me just sort this by today. These are all the ones that we have been doing since I've been doing the webinar, and I did another one earlier today, so some of these are from the earlier ones, but 28. So I've made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I made 16 of these today, and they're getting me ready for tomorrow, and they'll appear as a pop-up in a window that looks like this. So it goes into the triggered state. So these are the ones that are triggered, and again, these are the ones that were triggered for me today, and I had three rather. SPU, that's this one. VCell, this one, right here, which again, all of you should be looking at, and CRS. So these are all the simple components of trade ideas that are indispensable. You know, that you get the AI to present you things, but if you don't trade it, you can still just set up an alert for it. Again, look, we're looking to catch this move and ride it in that direction. Do you see like how this long-term downtrend was broken through this congestion area right here from January 2016 to March. Okay, this digestion area proved to be the support, and it rebounded, and those are the things that we are looking for. And again, this looks good. I mean, it can go back down. I'm not saying it's going to continue to go back up, but like Steve said, I can do some bracketing where I can say, create a price alert, I want to go along and say I'm pulling back.
Yeah, using the price alerts is a great tool because it's really not inherently in our human makeup to try and buy the pullback, and so it's a nice little nudge and a kick and a reminder that, hey, you know, you saw this in a homework unemotional state. Let's think about this here, because you know, we are all kind of wired to want to wait for the coast to be clear and buy the breakouts, but the way the market is wired is it waits for people to get positioned and then tries to shake them out like a bucking bronco. So it's 3 steps forward and 2.4 steps back usually. So sometimes if you can use those pullbacks, the entry is where the key is in the stamina and staying in some of these noisy trades. And again, getting back to my original point, we're not really wired to try and buy the pullback. We're wired to buy the breakout. So using this tool is a nice nudge to remind us that, hey, sometimes we can buy the pullback even though we're not looking for it.
Well, consider it just, Steve, I mean, when you're saying that about buying the pullback, the way you said that, I mean, you know, it talks about exactly what we're doing, which is we're kind of voicing the AI. We're working on making her actually speak to you. But it also talks about, think about Google navigation. Make a right turn in 2.1 miles. The AI says, get long, blah, 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 at this price. I mean, it all becomes kind of very similar. And here, what we're showing you, and what we hope that you see, is that opportunities are just not where you hear about them. Look at these stocks that you probably have never heard about. They went from 2.4 in May to 5.4. I mean, look at these trends that are happening, and look at it from the breakout. And again, and we've been aware of this stock this whole time. These are the things that we want to present to you because this move is incredible. It has never been.
Put up CWEI, and I'll tie a couple things together. This was on one of our trend change scans way back when, and you can kind of see that bowl shape. And as it emerged from that bowl shape, it exploded. And right where it exploded, I'll tell you why it exploded, because that was a pivot point. If you put your crosshairs on there, you can just see it going back a little bit higher, Dan. Yeah, exactly. That is the pivot point. And why did it explode off there? Well, look at the single stock window. What does the short float say? 50%, and the float is only 5 million. This has been on our radar since all the way back then. We've been playing this thing in and out, and it's been showing up in the trading room and on other swing alerts, and it's just driving the short sellers crazy. So it's putting together a couple of pieces and then just using that price alert to market when it does get above that pivot point. The short squeeze was on.
And people often don't know that, you know, the relationship between long speculators and short speculators, it's one of the huge ingredients of price action. And that's not even thought about in people's analysis. So RAI, which is looking at short float and short growth and comparing it to the overall float, I mean, just so that everyone knows, float is how many shares are there out there that can be traded at the very high level. So look at a stock like Apple.
But before you leave, CWEI, by the way, was one of our trade of the weeks at Trade Ideas way back when.
Oh,
It's up about 300% now since that original email came out. So I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that. And at the end of our webinar, Scott's going to talk about how we can get you on that email list for those that are interested.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. And that's half of the reason that we've grown so much is because our trade of the week is basically a piece of our AI that we give away to everybody for free. But going back to an ingredient of the stock market, the float. Okay, CWI, as Stephen said, 5.9 million. But look at Apple, 5.4 billion. And it only traded 29 million today. So think about that, people, for a minute. So there's 1,000 million in a billion, just in case everybody.
That's like trying to push a parked,
That's like trying to push the park
away from the dock. Yeah.
No, I was going to say it's trying to push a parked Central Park. People underestimate what that means. That means to really get Apple going, you've got to have something happening. It's hard to move Apple on the Richter scale. Look at Intel, 4.72 billion. Look at Cisco, 5 billion. Now look at Netflix. Not small, but 421 million is a different story than 5 billion, and that's why Netflix had been a high flyer. Amazon has a float that's smaller than Netflix. I mean, again, just think about that. GoPro, okay? Float of 99 million. Now we're getting into some of the smaller floats and some of the more interesting things. So, as my dear friend Steve beautifully showcased CWEI, looked terrible here, and then this digestion period and the subsequent uptrend that started, and then boom, the explosion upwards. Let's take a look at GoPro and just talk about the similarities. Number one, GoPro is a high flyer. Number two, Steve, how much is short?
Oh yeah, 30.
30%. So 30% of 100 million is short, roughly 30 million.
That could be an early move like CWEI.
Well, that's exactly why I brought it up, Steve. Come on.
It's an early move. Looking very similar there, Dan. You're right. So chart patterns. Yeah, chart patterns are what we're seeing here, Joseph, to answer Joseph's questions. But these are chart patterns that we might not normally see. I mean, going through 8,000 or 9,000 U.S. equities charts every evening is kind of tough. So we're using the technology here to bring up certainly charts of interest where we can use our discretion and take it from there. Yeah, go ahead.
Right, but also, just like Steve said, Joseph, in a very slow way, we are showing you what the AI is doing, like at light speed, the way that we just did this analysis on GoPro and everything that we looked at. That's what our AI is doing right now in the server farm, WDC. Okay, it's right along the exact same path, exactly. And it just cleared a pretty nice level, and the next one's right around here. So I'm going to put an alert. I'm going to bracket WDC, because here's what I'll say. Actually, I kind of want to see the 60 whole number right here. This one I'm going to call it, does it want it? Make sure market is ripping. So what I'm saying here is if I'm buying it right here, and I don't know when it's going to get there, because what did I say, 59, right? So it's a point away. What I'm saying is because there's some, what I feel like could be resistance, I just want to make sure the market's ripping. And that's why I made that note to myself. But I can also go right here and put one at 55 and say, come to Papa and switch my direction and hit save. So there you go. WDC, Joseph, thank you very much. What I just did in this bracket, the AI does by itself by basically saying, okay, at the time the WDC will break out, what are the odds of these types of breakouts working? And it'll only give you that kind of suggestion if the odds favor it going. So remember, these patterns, they all look good, but it's because we're presenting to you the patterns that are similar that way. Again, it's depending on how you zoom in or out. So here again, it's the same kind of example. We are hunting this gap down, digestion, and subsequent reversal. That's what we are doing. That is how right now you catch the most amount of alpha. One of the things that we're going to do here is we're going to give you an opportunity to join that trade of the week, the CWEI, and that's all free. So Scott, why don't you jump in here real quick? And well, before you do that, let me finish up the presentation because there's a couple more slides. But I just kind of want to show everybody, often I also, you'll see on Twitter, I like to show myself doing what I do in action. So I have an E-Trade account that I use as R&D, but R&D to make money. Like I have to set an example using our technology, okay? And here I'm just showing you that it's not just paper trading. People are doing it for real. They're exchanging pictures. They're exchanging what it actually feels like. And this is what's possible. These are the kind of percentages that are possible if you open yourself up to the scientific method. So like I said before, we have 13 years of testimonials. And the most important thing is starting point. That's why you're all here. Scott, do you want to jump in with the last part of the presentation?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for a great presentation. And as a thanks to the audience for attending, we'd like to offer you a little bit of our AI for free. If you go to tradeIdeas.com/free, just go ahead and sign up. You'll get a trade of the week every Monday in your inbox, along with some invitations to exclusive webinars that occur most Wednesday afternoon, talking about not only the trade of the week, but the technology and how the market's performing. There's some really great trading advice that goes on every day. And if you go to the next slide, I'd just like to reiterate what a value Trade Ideas is. If you think of something that provides this level of technology and what you'd normally have to pay for just a fraction of that kind of technology or alerting, what is a Bloomberg terminal? $3,000, $3,500 a month. Trade Ideas starts at just $99 a month for the basic service that does not include the AI, but the AI service starts at $188 a month, $188. And we often give out discount codes during the webinars. We also have a trading community, the live trading room. A lot of places charge $100 a month for that kind of service. We have unlimited customer support. We also provide a full hour of free one-on-one training, the kind of services that a lot of other companies would charge $100 an hour for. It's really outstanding. So if you just go to tradeIdeas.com/free, pick up that free AI-derived trade of the week every Monday. I'm sure you would appreciate it, and we appreciate your attendance at our webinar. Everyone that attends or registered will get an email notification tonight or tomorrow morning with a location on our YouTube channel of where to find the replay. I want to thank you, Dan and Steve and Andy and Brad, for helping us out with the webinar tonight. Thanks everyone for attending and signing up. Thanks, Dan. Oh, any questions? Email us, info@trade-ideas.com. If you have something direct for Dan, it's easy to reach, dan@trade-ideas.com, and that's our CEO. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/TradeIdeasPro. We occasionally post some unique content there, and Dan's Twitter feed, he's TradeIdeas1. Very amusing to follow, lots of great advice for trading and other items for life. @Trade Ideas is our standard corporate account, and our phone number is available for subscription questions during normal West Coast business hours. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Scott, and thank you everyone for showing up.
Yep. Thanks all. Good night.